Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're navigating the really exciting world of entrepreneurial ventures. Our mission for you to give you the essential tools, to truly vet your big ideas long before they even leave the drawing board.
Yeah, way before that stage.
We're focusing specifically on understanding your market, assessing project viability, with a special eye on the cooling and air conditioning sector. It's pretty dynamic.
That's right. And we're going to sort of pull back the curtain on those critical steps, the ones that take a brilliant idea and turn it into, well, hopefully, successful enterprise.
Right.
Think of this as your practical guide. Market intelligence, strategic planning, making sure your vision isn't just a dream.
A hopeful dream.
But a well-researched, actionable path. And our insights today, they're drawn from some really solid training materials designed for new entrepreneurs.
Okay, so let's jump right in. When you've got this really compelling idea, especially for something specific like a new cooling or AC project, isn't it just so tempting to dive straight into building it? Why do we have to start with market analysis?
Oh, it absolutely is tempting. That's a classic pitfall, really. Nelson Mandela said something quite profound about this. How you can be busy but stay in place if you don't evaluate decisions properly.
Staying busy but not moving forward.
Exactly. Market analysis is where you force yourself to ask the hard questions. Like, does anyone actually want this brilliant idea I have? It's the first critical step to moving forward productively.
Okay.
We're talking about market trend analysis. Fundamentally, it's gathering that crucial info to test if your idea will fly.
Okay.
So, for instance, understanding, say, the Saudi consumer. What are their preferences, buying habits? What do they see as quality? How do they react to marketing? It's how you connect your vision to the real market.
Finding the right market.
Finding the right market, identifying the right product, not just any product, and, the best way to actually get it to your customers.
That makes complete sense. You're not just building something cool in a vacuum. So, okay, we're sold on the why. What does the how look like? What's the actual roadmap here?
It really starts with clarity. Step one, defining your objective. Simple, right, but critical.
Okay.
Are you trying to figure out broad market trends? Or are you focused more internally, like on your own company's capacity? Or maybe it's both. Your answer shapes everything.
Got it. Objective first, then what?
Then you develop your plan. This is where you get specific timelines. What tools are you going to use? How are you collecting data? When? And really important, when are you going to sit down and actually interpret what you find?
So strategy right from the get-go. Okay, plan in hand. Who are you looking for?
Your audience. That's step 3. Identifying potential customers. Pinpoint exactly who is most likely to buy from you. Yeah, drilling down. Personal characteristics, demographics, sure, but also their technical needs, their behaviors, even the geography. Where are they?
And you're definitely not alone out there.
Almost never. Which brings us to step 4. Identifying competitors. Your activity, your niche, it probably overlaps with others targeting that same customer group.
Right.
So you have to know who they are. Are they direct competitors, like doing almost the exact same thing? Or indirect, solving the same problem maybe, but differently?
Okay.
How many are there? How big are they? And crucially, what can you learn just by watching how they behave in the market? Their reactions.
That sounds like a lot of digging. Can tech help here?
Absolutely. What's fascinating now is how accessible the tools are. You don't necessarily need a huge budget for this anymore.
Oh, like what?
Well, there are platforms like Answer the Public. It shows you the questions people are actually typing into search engines. Amazing for finding pain points.
Clever.
Then there's Think with Google. Incredible insights from Google's data on consumer trends, search behavior, really relevant stuff. And Statista, just a goldmine of statistics, market data across pretty much any industry you can think of.
Wow. Okay. So resources are out there.
Definitely. These kinds of platforms can give you a huge leg up in studying the market for your, say, cooling and AC project.
That's really valuable, democratizing the research side. Okay. So you've mapped the competition. You mentioned something about finding gaps, getting strategic.
Exactly. That's step 5, identifying market gaps. This isn't just listing names. It's about understanding their vulnerabilities. Where are they strong? Where are they weak? What opportunities might they be missing? What threats do they face?
The SWOT analysis connection.
Precisely. That's where a tool like SWOT analysis comes in. It helps you pinpoint where competitors are maybe falling short, so you can strategically position yourself to fill those gaps with what makes you unique.
Leading to differentiation.
The direct path to it, yeah. And finally, all this effort, all this data collection leads to step 6, analyzing the data. Data isn't just numbers on a page. It's your strategic partner.
If it's good data.
If it's good data, exactly. More accurate, more abundant, better results. You need to organize it, summarize it, categorize it somehow so it's easy to grasp.
Make it usable.
Make it usable. This organized data helps you forecast sales, estimate your potential market share, and critically convince investors. But remember, the data itself has to be, unbiased, accurate, detailed, practical, measurable, and super relevant to your specific field.
Okay, you mentioned SWOT analysis there as key for finding market gaps. Can we unpack that a bit more? What is SWOT exactly, and how does an entrepreneur actually use it, like as a strategic compass?
Absolutely. SWOT. It stands for strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, threats. People usually picture it as a 2x2 grid. Simple visual, but it forces some real honesty about your venture.
Okay.
The first two, strengths and weaknesses, these are internal. Things mostly within your control, your project, your organization.
Like our own capabilities.
Your capabilities, your internal systems, production, sales team, your finances, marketing chops, R&D, maybe unique team skills.
Yeah.
All that internal stuff.
So what makes something a strength?
A strength is an internal resource, or an advantage, maybe a skill, that gives you an edge over competitors or helps you meet a specific market need.
Got example.
Yeah, the source material mentioned Zamel air conditioners, the AC. Their strengths. Things like having diverse production lines, one in Italy, one in KSA, wide market reach because of good marketing, strong brand names. They even do workforce training, good leadership, international standards, and solid R&D for innovation.
Okay, solid company. So for someone starting out...
For you, the entrepreneur, you got to ask,
Okay.
What do we do really well? What unique thing do we offer? Why do customers pick us? Do they come back? What about money? Are finances strong? Diversified revenue? Good cash flow.
Right. The internal advantages. What about the flip side? Weaknesses?
Weaknesses. These are the negatives inside your own setup that you really need to tackle. You got to reduce their impact. For Zasixi, the example given was rising costs, raw materials, energy. That pushes their product prices up for consumers. That's an internal issue impacting their market position.
So for our listener?
For your project, ask, why might a customer go to a competitor instead? What internal roadblocks could slow us down? Is our funding really enough? Are we too reliant on one income stream? Are there processes that are just clunky or hard to implement?
Tough questions to ask.
Crucial questions. Okay, so that's the internal view. But businesses don't exist in bubbles, right?
Definitely not. What about the outside world?
Exactly. That's where opportunities and threats come in. These are external factors, things hidden in the market like the whole cooling and AC market that are pretty much outside your control.
Like competition, prices?
Competition, prices, partners changing, environmental stuff, economic shifts, new regulations, tech changes, all that external noise.
So opportunities first, the good stuff.
Yeah, opportunities are those external factors that could actually help your project.
Yeah.
Give you a boost and advantage.
Like for ZAC.
For Zasixi, opportunities mentioned were things like expanding into foreign markets because they have innovative products, or maybe using their R&D skills differently to boost efficiency, maybe finding ways around entry barriers in new markets, or even partnering up with other companies to grow faster.
Okay. And for a startup?
For you, an opportunity might be, is the local economy picking up? Are people likely to have more spending power soon? Are raw material prices maybe dropping? Is there a new trend you can ride? How long might it last? Did you just secure a loan? How will that help? Any new helpful laws?
Looking for those positive tailwinds.
Exactly. And then the mirror image, threats.
The external headwinds.
Perfect analogy. Threats are external factors that could hurt your project. For Zacy, threats included more competition coming in from the MENA region, from overseas, consumer tastes changing all the time. For AC systems, you got to keep up.
Constant change.
Yeah. Demographic shifts, maybe slowing down market growth in their region, rising labor costs, both in Saudi Arabia and Italy in their case.
So for our listeners' potential AC venture,
You need to ask, are raw material costs going up? How could exchange rates mess with things? Any political trends, domestic or international, that could impact AC projects specifically? New laws or regulations that might hinder investment? Are scary new competitors popping up? Have customer interests shifted away from what you offer? Global currency issues, economic downturns, new labor laws hitting your market.
wow, lots to scan for externally. How does knowing all this SWOT actually help you strategize?
Oh, see, that's the payoff. Understanding your SWOT isn't just like a checklist exercise. It lets you build concrete strategies. Think like this. An SO strategy uses your strengths to grab those opportunities. Play your best cards when the time is right.
Makes sense.
An ST strategy uses your strengths to fend off threats. Use your advantages like a shield.
Okay.
A WO strategy is about tackling your weaknesses by using opportunities. See a market opening. Use it to maybe fix something you're not great at internally.
Turning a weakness into less of one.
Exactly. And finally, a WT strategy. This is crucial. It's about avoiding disaster. What happens if your weakness meets a major threat? You need a plan to minimize that damage, mitigate the big risks.
That's really powerful, taking that simple grid and making it a real playbook. So after all this analysis, market trends, SWOT, you should have answers, right?
You should. Answers to fundamental questions like, how big could this business realistically get? What are the buying trends we need to understand? Is the market actually ready for our new thing? Will customers, and maybe more importantly investors, want to get involved? What are the smartest ways to market this? And what features does it absolutely need to compete?
Okay, so market analysis is done, SWOT's complete, you have a much clearer picture, but launching is still a huge step. What comes next? Feasibility.
Exactly. Once you've got that market trend analysis down, the next huge step is figuring out the feasibility of the project itself before you pour in serious time and money.
So what is a feasibility study technically?
Think of it as a whole set of studies, really. A comprehensive look at whether your project is suitable, practical, viable from all angles.
All angles, like
Market feasibility, technical, economic, financial, funding, can you actually get the money?
yeah.
Even social aspects.
Yeah.
It's putting the entire idea under a really intense microscope.
Okay. And why is this so important? Seems like a lot of work.
It is work, but its importance is huge, and it works on multiple levels. For you, the entrepreneur, it's a core decision-making tool. Helps you pick the best option if you have alternatives, use resources wisely, basically, avoid big, costly mistakes.
Saves you potentially failing later.
Precisely. For banks or investors, it gives them deep insight into your project, its environment, helps them decide if they want to lend you money or invest, gives them confidence.
Right, they need that proof.
And even for the government or the state, these studies help make sure resources are allocated well, prioritizing investment opportunities that make sense. On a practical level, they can even help tackle bigger issues, like unemployment. Plus, you often need one just to get loans or project licenses from authorities. It's often not optional.
It sounds like it connects to bigger goals, too.
It does. Sheikh Suleiman al-Raji, a very successful businessman, noted how crucial clear goals and continuous development are for young entrepreneurs, especially in trade and manufacturing. And he mentioned how government support, often informed by feasibility studies, can really help. It shows how this fits into a larger picture of economic development.
Okay, so it's definitely not just paperwork, it's strategic. What are the actual steps, the fundamentals of doing a feasibility study?
Right, the nuts and bolts. It usually starts with really nailing down step one, defining the project idea. This is your initial take on the opportunity.
Like a summary.
Kind of. A general description. What's the project? What's its main goal? What type of product or service? How much volume, roughly? What materials, what people do you think you'll need? Where might it be located? And a very, very rough ballpark estimate of the investment required.
Just getting the basics down.
Exactly. Then comes step two, the preliminary feasibility study. This is like a first pass. It clarifies that main objective from step one, gives a slightly better idea of the needs, materials, money, people, and what benefits you might expect.
A quick check.
A quick check, yeah. It's the filter. Does this look promising enough to justify spending more time and money on the really deep analysis?
And if it passes that check...
If you get the green light there, then you move to step three, the detailed feasibility study. And this is where you really get into the weeds with several specific in-depth studies.
Okay, let's break those down. What's first?
First, and maybe most foundational, is the marketing study. We touched on this earlier with market analysis, but here it's about forecasting revenue. By studying what might limit demand, estimating current and future demand, figuring out the total market size, predicting your slice of that pie, your market share, and analyzing how related goods, complementary or substitute, might affect you.
Okay, the market deep dive, then.
Then comes the technical and engineering study. This gets really practical. It details your costs, both the initial investment and the ongoing operating costs.
So kind of details.
Things like, what specific equipment do you need? That affects your production capacity, how many workers you need, what quality raw materials, where do you get technical know-how from suppliers, experts, your own experience, how much time, what skills are needed, how many workers. Energy needs power, gas, water, any environmental stuff to consider, and, crucially, the best location. Proximity to markets, transport links, utilities, enough space.
The physical reality of the project.
Exactly. All the tangible stuff.
Okay, you've got market potential, you've got the technical costs.
Yeah.
How does this become about money?
That's the financial study. Its job is basically to translate everything from the marketing and technical studies into financial numbers. Hard estimates.
Like budgets and projections?
Budgets, projections. Investment costs, what you need up front. Annual operating costs, what it takes to run year to year. And expected revenues over the project's whole lifespan. It also covers funding. Where's the money coming from? Your own pocket.
Yeah.
Investors, loans, and if it's loans, what's the impact of interest rates? This often involves cash flow projections, tracking the money coming in and going out. The lifeblood, really.
Right. Cash flow is king.
Always. And finally, after all that, you do the economic evaluation. This is the bottom line. Will this project actually generate a decent return on the investment?
How do you measure that?
There are a few key indicators. One is a payback period. Super simple. How long does it take to get your initial investment back from the cash the project generates each year?
Shorter is better, usually.
Generally, yes. Then there's the average rate of return. This compares how much your project earns relative to other things you could have invested in. Is it a good use of capital?
Comparing opportunities.
Right. And then a really important one, the internal rate of return, or IRR.
IRR. Heard of it, but what is it exactly?
Okay, think of IRR as the project's break-even interest rate. It's the discount rate where the money you put in initially equals the present value of all the future cash you expect to get out. Or, put another way, it's the rate where the present value of cash outflows equals the present value of cash inflows over the project's life.
Okay. Why is that so important?
Because it tells you the maximum interest rate your project can handle on borrowed money before it stops being profitable. If your IRR is, say, 15%, and you can borrow money at 8%, you're likely in good shape. If you have to borrow at 16%, probably not. It's a critical number for investors and lenders.
Got it. A vital sign for financial health.
Absolutely. And this whole process, from the first market scan through these detailed feasibility checks, it lets you build a really solid, defensible plan. Much like the kind of feasibility study framework you'd use for, say, an AC maintenance center project, you can actually find examples and guides for this kind of thing online, like monshot.gov.sa in Saudi Arabia offers resources for entrepreneurs.
That's incredibly thorough. What an amazing deep dive, really, into transforming just an idea into something tangible, strategic, a real business plan. It feels like you, our listener, now have a much more comprehensive grip on how market trends get analyzed, how feasibility gets properly assessed, giving you the power to make really informed decisions for your own ventures, especially in something like cooling and AC.
And, this raises an important question, I think. As you embark on your own journey, maybe with an idea you've been nurturing, how might using these tools, this kind of analytical thinking, actually change how you perceive risk? How you see opportunity? Could it shift you from just being an entrepreneur with a dream to being a truly strategic innovator, moving forward with confidence because it's rooted in real understanding, something powerful to think about as you continue on your path?